Hi, so today we are going to be doing lesson 8.1 on two-way frequency tables. Your essential question: how can categorical data for two categories be summarized? We're going to explore categorical data and frequencies. So, data that can be expressed with numerical measurements are quantitative data. This is a vocabulary term. You should add this to your notes along with its definition. In this lesson, you will examine qualitative data or categorical data, which is also a vocabulary term, which cannot be expressed using numbers. Data describing animal type, model of car, or a favorite song, those are examples of categorical data. So if we look at A, circle the categorical data variable. Justify your choice. So our choices are temperature, weight, height, or color. Well, temperature and weight and height all can be represented with numerical measurements. It's a little difficult for color. So color is the categorical data variable. And we are going to type that in. Temperature, weight, and height are measured on a numerical scale. So they are quantitative data. Whereas color cannot be expressed numerically. All right. Now we're going to move on to part B, which says identify whether the given data is categorical or quantitative. So we have large, medium, and small. Those are categories, so they don't have specifically numbers to them. So that is our categorical data. And then if we look at 120 feet squared, 130 feet squared, 140 feet squared, those are numerical. So that's what we say is quantitative. Those are the two types of data that we're working with. And now if we move on to C, a frequency table shows how often each item occurs in a set of categorical data. Use the categorical data listed on the left to complete the frequency table. All right, so we're looking at ways students get to school. And it looks like our choices are bus, car, or walk. And what we want to do is use the data in this table to the left and fill in the frequency table on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and use a color highlighter here. So if we're looking at kids that ride the bus, it says there's 8. And if I go through, that means there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids that said that. So that's where they're getting that number from. For car, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 kids are coming by car. And then our last category is to walk. And that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 kids are walking. So we're going to add the word walk. And then we're going to put the number 5. Okay. So we're going to reflect on this now. Again, number 1, how did you determine the numbers for each category in the frequency column? Basically, we just counted, right? We just counted the times each category shows up. What must be true about the sum of the frequencies in a frequency table? Okay, so if you add up all these numbers, 8, 7, and 5, we're going to get 20, which means that number of total frequencies should also be the number of items in the data set. Okay, so the sum should equal the total number of items in the data set. So you can see I'm using my stylus to just write out on some of these, whereas up here I try to do the typing one. Of course, the typing looks beautiful and it's very clear and easy to read, but it takes me forever to try to get it to go to where I need it to go. So it's not too much writing, I'm just going to write it by hand. All right, so we're going to move on now to page 348. So this is the second page in our lesson 8.1. And we're looking at explain 1. Okay, we're looking at how we construct two-way frequency tables. And this should be familiar from 8th grade. Okay, so this is kind of some review right now. If a data set has 2 categorical variables, you can list the frequencies of the paired values in a two-way frequency table. All right, so for example 1, we're going to complete the two-way frequency table. Part A, a high school's administration asked 100 randomly selected students in the 9th and 10th grades about what fruit they liked best. Complete the table. So looks like for 9th grade, we have 19 kids that like apples, 12 like oranges, 23 like bananas. As we move on to 10th grade, 22 like apples, 9 like oranges, and 15 likes bananas. So we have all our data filled in, but then we are going to be able to fill in these total areas. Okay, so the totals we'll be able to fill in just by adding. So for the row totals, to get this one here, it's just by adding up these numbers. Okay, and you're going to see that they put 54 in that spot. To get this row's total, the 10th, okay, you add up all those numbers, you get 46. That's why 46 is showing up here. Our column totals for apples, that's this column. 19 plus 22 is 41, so 41 is showing up here. Oranges, 12 plus 9 is 21. 21 is going in the bottom of that column. Banana, 23 plus 15 equals 38. It goes here. Now, to get this 100, there's 2 ways to get it. So to get 100 right here, you can add these together or you can add these together, right? And that's what they're showing you here. The sum of the rows, 54 and 46, is 100, and the sum of the columns, 41 plus 21 plus 38, is also 100. So it should add up to the same sum, 100, on both of those. Now, if we're going to look at part B, Jenna asked some randomly selected students whether they prefer dogs, cats, or other pets. She also recorded the gender of each student. The results are shown in the two-way table. In the two-way frequency table below. Each entry is the frequency of students who prefer a certain pet and are a certain gender. Okay, so we're looking at dogs and cats and boys and girls. So what do they prefer? Okay. The data is filled in. So we have 8 girls that prefer dogs and 7 girls that prefer cats and 1 girl that prefers a different pet. For boys, 10 prefer dog, 5 prefer cat, and 9 prefer something else. I'm curious what that something else would be. Maybe it's like a snake or something. So to get our row totals, rows go horizontally across. For our girl row, 8 plus 7 plus 1, well, that's going to be 16. Okay, so that number is just going to go in the row total at the end here, 16. Our next row total for boys is 10 plus 5 plus 9, which is 24. So that's going to go right here. Our column totals. So for dogs, we have 8 plus 10, which is just 18. We're going to put 18 there. For cat, we're doing 7 plus 5. That's going to be 12. We put 12 here. And for the others, 1 plus 9 is 10, so we put a 10 here. Okay, so I have all the total filled out, but the grand total, so we want to make sure we get the same number for the grand total. So if we do the sum of the row totals, that's 16 plus 24, which adds up to 40. All right, and before I write that in, I want to make sure I get 40 here as well. So sum of the column totals 18, 12, and 10. Well, that also adds up to 40. Okay, I have to make sure that those are the same number, which is great. So I'm going to put 40 here. We're going to move on now to page next page. Page 349. So there's 2 questions about our last frequency table. So I do want to kind of show both at the same time if we can. Okay, so I am answering this question right here, number 3. Look at the totals for each row. Was Jenna's survey evenly distributed among boys and girls? Which means, did she ask the same number of boys and the same number of girls this question about pets? So if we come back to our table, she asked a total of 16 girls and a total of 24 boys. So that was not very evenly distributed. So what we're going to do is write that no. She asked 24 boys and 16 girls. For number 4, we're going to look at the totals for each column. Which pet is preferred by the most students? So if we look at our columns for the pets, we have 18 for a dog, 12 for a cat, and 10 for others. So the biggest value is for the dogs. And so that's what we're going to add into the answer here. And we want to justify our answer, which means we can't just write dog. We need to write some reasoning behind it. Dogs. And the reason why is the total for dog is greater than the other pets. All right, so now we're moving on to number 5 here. Complete the two-way frequency table. We have Antonio, and he surveyed 60 of his classmates about their participation in school activities and whether they have a part-time job. The results are shown in a two-way frequency table below. So we're going to complete it. All the data is filled in. So for each row, we have all of our numbers. We have 12, 13, 16, and 4. For no, we have 3, 5, 5, and 2. Okay, and that's coming under who said what for clubs only, sports only, both, or neither. So we have all our data. Now we just need to get our totals. All right, so I need to add up 12 plus 13, that's 25, plus 16 plus 4, that's 29, plus 16 is going to be 45. So that goes right there. And then I'm going to do my next row of no's. 3 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2 is 15. And now we're going to add up our columns. 12 plus 3 is 15. 13 plus 5 is 18. 16 plus 5 is 21. And 4 plus 2 is 6. So remember, when I add 45 and 15 together, I want to make sure I get the same answer as 15 plus 18 plus 21 plus 6. And you're going to get 60 either way. Okay, so that is filled in. It's a complete frequency table. We're going to look at number 6 now. Jen surveyed 100 students about whether they like baseball or basketball. Complete the table. All right, so our data is filled in. If you add the yeses, it's for liking baseball. Oh, wait, I see. Okay, it's a little bit weird. So we're liking baseball, yes or no, and then like basketball, yes or no. So if I add the top row, 61 plus 13 is going to be 74. And adding the next row, 16 plus 10, 26. I'm going to add my column. 61 plus 16 is 77. 13 plus 10 is 23. And I want to make sure that this last box here, it has to be the same value. So if I add 74 and 26, or if I add 77 and 23, it should have the same sum, which is 100. Sorry, this thing zooms in and out on me unexpectedly because I'm still learning how to use it, but it's a pretty cool tool to have. All right, so now we're going to look at reading two-way frequency tables. And the stylus pen is very sensitive. You don't even have to touch the screen and it'll it'll do what you're saying, okay? So reading two-way frequency tables, you can extract information about paired categorical variables by reading a two-way frequency table. Example, read and complete the two-way frequency table. A, suppose you are given the circled information in the table and instructed to complete the table. All right, so eat cereal for breakfast based on gender, yes or no. And we can find the total number of boys, all right, by subtracting 100 minus 54, and that would equal 46. Yes, that's true. That's already filled in. Find the number of boys who do not eat cereal by subtracting 46 minus 10, which is 36. Okay, yes. Add to find the total number of students who eat cereal and find the total number of students who do not eat cereal. Okay, so these numbers are already filled in. I think it's just explaining ways that you can do this if they were not already filled in. So we're going to look at page 350. And I think maybe that's what this is going to show now. So, all right, we're going to be able to do this. So for B, 100 students were surveyed. Okay, so I already know the total number of kids surveyed, so we got to put that 100 in. It goes in a very specific place. About which beverage they choose at lunch, some of the results are shown. So we have juice, milk, or water. And I already know 100 students has to go right here, right? Because they said that was the total. Okay, so We are going to find the total number of girls by subtracting 100 minus 60, because if we asked girls and boys and we know there's 60 boys, but there's 100 total, well, then by subtracting, we are going to get 40, and that would go right here. It's like a puzzle, okay? So you just kind of work your way around until you get it all filled in. So the total number of girls is 40. The number of girls who do not choose milk. All right, who do not choose milk means they're choosing juice or water is 17 and 10, which is 27. Okay, so the number of girls who do choose milk would be 40 minus 27, or it would be 13. So 13 would go right here. Okay, now we can get these totals. We don't have to work backwards in any way. Remember, totals are just adding the sums of the row or the column. So 10 and 15 adds to 25. 13 and 24 adds to 37. 17 and 21 adds to 38. We have our table filled in. Which lunch beverage is the least preferred? So now we're reading this table to figure out what one is least preferred. And it's going to be the one that has the lowest total. Well, juice has the lowest total, so we're going to write that juice. It's the answer. It has the lowest total. My writing will get better, I swear. It says juice. It has the lowest total. Number 8, read and complete the two-way frequency table. And let's see, we have 100 students were asked what fruit they chose at lunch. The two-way frequency table shows some of the results of the survey. Complete the table. Okay, so I'm going to take from this question the fact that tells me that 100 students were asked. Okay, so that's our total. That's going to go right here. And I'm going to put that number in there. So 100 goes here. And so you want to look for a row or a column to do next that is only missing one data. Okay, I wouldn't be able to find out how many boys chose apple yet. I mean, I will, but I have to first either have to figure out some other stuff. So like if I go to the total column, I have 49 filled in, there's a blank for boy, and then the total is 100. So I can work backwards and figure out that this number is actually 51. But now, because I have that number in place, I can figure out how many boys chose apple, because I know that we have 10 for pear, 16 for banana, that's 26. 51 minus 26, that's going to be 25. And I could do the same thing for girls that chose apple, add 17 and 11 together, subtract that from 49, gives me 21. And I could just go and add up my totals. So this is going to be 46. It's going to be 27 and 27. Okay, and you can always double check your work by adding up your totals in the rows and the columns to make sure you get 100. Number 9, 200 high school teachers. Oh, wow, that's a lot. That's right there. They already got that number in for us. We're asked whether they prefer to use the chalkboard or the projector in class. I don't know when I've seen a chalkboard in a classroom since I was in high school. It's been a long time. I don't think any of you guys have seen a chalkboard in a classroom in a long time, unless they're like one of those like cute little Pinteresty ones that teachers get. But we do have whiteboards. You know, that'd probably be a little more accurate. This must be an old survey. Okay, so we are going to fill in some info. We're looking for a row or column where there's only one data value missing. So I'm going to get a different color highlighter here, and you can see that this has only one thing missing. So I can work backwards. Some number plus 44 equals 87. 87 minus 44 gives me 43. Let's find somewhere else where there's only one missing. I mean, it's any of these really at this point. 56 plus some number equals 113. So 113 minus 56 will give me 57. And our last one here. 99 plus some number equals 200. That some number has to be 101. Okay, so that wasn't the only way to do that problem, but it was one way. And now we're going to look at the last page, which is 351. So I'm going to need to come over here. I hope I'm not making you seasick by moving all this stuff around. Okay. So should I just try typing again because it looks so much nicer? Mine's as well. It's the end. Number 10, you are making a two-way frequency table of 5 fruit preferences among a survey sample of girls and boys. What are the dimensions of the table you would make? That's the first question. Second question, how many entries would you need to fill the table with frequencies and totals? So it's a two-way frequency table. We have 5 choices for fruit among boys and girls. So we're going to make a 2 by 5 table for the frequencies. Let's go ahead and type that. We are going to make a 2 by 5 table for the frequencies. Once you add those totals on, okay, you're going to increase your dimensions. So adding the totals will increase our dimensions. Oh my. Dimensions to, well, we're going to have, instead of 2, it's going to go up by 1. Instead of 5, it's going to go up by 1. So it's going to be 3 by 6. And the number of entries, if it's 3 by 6, well, 3 times 6, so 18 entries will fill the table. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this, and I'm going to move it over to where I need it. I'm going to try to shrink it, not mess it up too much. That was better. That's the best one I've had yet of typing that because usually it's kind of a mess. All right. 11, a 3 categories by 3 categories two-way frequency table has a row with 2 numbers and no row or column totals. Can you fill in the row? Well, if it's a 3 category by 3 category two-way table, that's a 3 by 3. But then to include all the totals, that would increase our dimensions. We would have a 4 by 4 table. So we would have a 4 by 4 table. Okay, so we know what it looks like. And it says it has a row with 2 numbers and no row or column totals. Huh. Can you fill that row? Well, if there's 2 numbers in it and you're missing 2, we can't work backwards. Okay, there's 2 unknowns. So no, we cannot. We have 2 unknowns. We'd have to have just 1 unknown. Okay, so that's not going to work for us. And let's move this guy over here. Move him up here. Well, that fits. I'm not going to mess with it. Number 12, essential question check-in. All right, do we remember our essential question? It was, how can categorical data for two categories be summarized? So how can you summarize categorical data for two categories? It's just rephrasing it in a slightly different way. What have we been using? What do we call that thing we've been using? We can use a two-way frequency table. Boom, that's it. Easy. We are almost done, guys. Okay. So this is the last page we're going to look at together, because the rest of this is homework and practice, okay? So just kind of looking at what we have here, I think I did enough examples with you to do this. And I'm not exactly assigning this to you yet. I'm going to assign some practice to you in a different way. So I'm going to say this is the end of our notes. You want to make sure you wrote down any key vocabulary, included some examples. You know, they give you questions in here that we answered. You can always use these kind of questions for your questions in the question column. That would work. All right, but that's going to be it for this lesson. Okay, bye.